indigenous practices and cultures are they usually use in their day-to-day life. Again, it also refers to the comprehensive and diverse knowledge system developed and nurtured in the Indian subcontinent over centuries. So Indian knowledge systems aims to integrate the ancient traditional knowledge of India with the contemporary knowledge system. The implementation of Indian knowledge system will not only transform education but also regenerate the Indian psyche and the way of life. By infusing fundamental Indian thought, knowledge, tradition, art, skill, craftsmanship, and management into various sectors, India will undergo a philosophical revolution. So, in Indian knowledge system, it comprises the three main words: Indian, knowledge, and system. So, Indian, the word in Indian refers to Akhanda Bharat, that is an undivided Indian subcontinent. Again, knowledge refers to the unstated knowledge, and it lies in the wisdom of knowledge seekers. Then system. System means a well-organized methodology and classification scheme used to assess a body of knowledge. That means in India, we have so many knowledge, we have so many procedure. Just we have to explore it, we have to implement it in our different courses, in our different curriculum system. So Indian knowledge system, also known as the Indian school of thought or Hindu philosophy, and refers to the vast body of knowledge, belief, and practices. So in Hindu philosophy, we have knowledge, we have belief, and we have also practices. And that have been developed and passed down from ancient time in the Indian subcontinent. Then this knowledge system is deeply rooted in the ancient Vedic scriptures and has evolved over thousands of years, shaping the cultural, intellectual, and spiritual landscape of India. So Kapil Kapoor, and he had noted that the system, Indian knowledge system, is deeply rooted in our ancient Vedic scripts, and it has cultural value, it has intellectual value, it has a spiritual values. So this, or the origin of the Indian knowledge system can be traced back to the ancient Vedic period, which began around 1500 BCE. So Vedas, these are the oldest scriptures of Hinduism, were composed during this time and are considered the foundation of Indian knowledge and philosophy. So all of you know that the Vedas are the collection of hymns, rituals, and mantras, and that were transmitted orally from generation to generation for centuries before being written down. So early Vedic period was followed by the emergence of the Upanishad, which are philosophical texts that expound upon the deeper meaning and significance of the Vedas. And these Upanishad introduce the concept of self-realization. So the concept of self-realization is mainly introduced by the Upanishad, where we realize by our own self. And the realization of one's true nature are being intertwined with the divine and the universe. So when we realize our self-realization, that means we realize we interlink with the divine, with the universe. So they also laid the foundation for the concept of karma, the law of cause and effect that govern the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. So we have a belief, the concept of karma, where we can, if we are busy, we are doing in a good work, then our karma will help us for rebirth. So around 500 BCE, the period of the Upanishad gave away the emergence of several schools of thought in India, and each with its own interpretation and philosophical system. So we have Vedanta, we have the Saikya, we have yoga and Jainism. All these philosophy, their own interpretation and philosophical system, realize the necessity of their philosophical background. And this school of thought brought new developments and interpretation to the original Vedic teaching, leading to the diversification of Indian knowledge and philosophies. Then one of the most influential school of thought was Vedanta, and which emerged in the post-Vedic period and focused on the concept of self-realization and the ultimate reality. So these two principles, self-realization and the ultimate reality, these two principles are one of the most influential teachings that we have found in the
Sorry
Vedanta.
to interrupt you, ma'am.
I'm so sorry. So the early Vedic period was followed by the emergence of the Upanishad, which has which are philosophical texts that expound upon the deeper meaning and significance of the Vedas. The Upanishad introduced the concept of self realization and the realization of one's true nature as being intertwined with the divine and the universe. As I have already showed this slide, and so, the new National Educational Policy 2020 recommends that incorporation of Indian knowledge system into the curriculum at all levels of education. The policy stated the heritage of ancient and external Indian knowledge system and thought has been guiding line for this policy. The pursuit of knowledge, that is jnana, wisdom, pragya, and the truth, Chaitya, was always considered in Indian thought and philosophy as the highest human goal. So the Indian education system also produced so many great scholars like Saraka, the Sustra, Arjavata, Varamihira, Bhaskaracharya, Brahmagupta, Sanakya, Chakrapani Datta, Madhava, Panini, Patanjali, Nagarjuna, Gautama, Pingala, Shankardeva, Maitri, Gargi, and there are so many numerous others and who made seminal contribution to the world knowledge in diverse fields such as mathematics, astronomy, then medical science, surgery, metallurgy, civil engineering, architecture, shipbuilding, navigation, yoga classes, chess, and many more. That means we have so many prominent scholars from Indian history, and accordingly, we also developed in different fields mathematics, astronomy. There are so many fields developed during the ancient period of time. So India has a long-standing tradition of knowledge and education. And we have also the Nalanda University, Taxila University. These are the one of the most prominent ancient universities, and these institutions were renowned for their diverse curriculum, attracting scholars from across the globe. So there are so many significant points, significant aspects of our Indian traditional knowledge system, and that is why the NEP outlines several key objectives related to the Indian knowledge system. So integration and revitalization. So NEP outlines that if we integrate and revitalize education system, the present education system with the uh, traditional Indian knowledge system, it will help us to preserve, to transmit the different cultural aspect, the social aspect for our future generation. Then secondly, it is also pointed out by the NEP that promotion of local language. So to promote education in regional languages and dialects, which are often the sources of traditional knowledge. So we can promote our local language. If we go for adopting the tradition of Indian knowledge, we can promote our own local languages. Then research and develop, one of the most prominent areas of our human development, that is the research. So to encourage research and development in traditional knowledge system and practices, so we can also undertake different research, different activities, so that traditional knowledge system can be explored, can be developed by our research activities. Then interdisciplinary approach, so we can also foster the interdisciplinary approach, as NEP outlines that, to foster an interdisciplinary approach that bridges modern and traditional knowledge system. So we can establish a close relationship between the traditional knowledge system and the modern knowledge system, and by doing so we can maintain an interdisciplinary approach in our education system. So according to Kautilya, we have a life has a three phases, that means we have a three phases: the birth, growth, and the death. In the same manner, education is having three important outcomes, which are creation of new knowledge, that is the vidya, wisdom to use the right knowledge in right time. So we have knowledge and we have to use our knowledge in a right time, in a right way, and the place of right purpose, that is the vivek, and the skills sets to get the proper results of knowledge in real life. So we must have some skill so that we can also use in our real life situation. And these outcomes are possible only when the education system is properly balanced with the integration of knowledge and skills in an appropriate manner. In today's education, organization of knowledge content, what to know, has taken over the base knowledge seeking inquiry, that is how to know. So we should also know what to know and how to know. So the entire Indian knowledge tradition has focused on how rather than what. So Indian knowledge tradition emphasized that we should always concern by ourselves with how. So and new invention are changing things very fast and making it tricky to know what skills children need to learn. And that's why school need a plan to teach students not just how to use these things, but also how to use what they learn in everyday life. So we should use the knowledge in our day-to-day life by how and what. So focusing only on learning using technological gadget can make learning boring. Old Indian knowledge can help because it emphasizes upon using knowledge in real ways, not just memorizing facts. And by including these ideas in education, school can create a better balance for students to learn. So there are so many studies conducted by so many eminent educationists and writers. I have highlighted few of them in this slide. So studies done by Singh, and he demonstrates how incorporating Indian knowledge system concepts can enhance learning by providing students with fresh viewpoints, and this can lead to a better understanding of fundamental concept and a more holistic approach to learning. So according to Singh, we can, if we can incorporate Indian knowledge system, it enhance the learning capacity of the student by understanding the fundamental concept and the holistic approach to learning. And then Indian knowledge system, if we can integrate, it also foster a strong sense of cultural identity among students. So we can also foster our own cultural values, our own cultural identity, our own cultural style, and we can also develop our own practices, so from one generation to another generation, and we can also have a deeper appreciation for our own heritage. As we know, Indian knowledge system based on Vedic literature, the Vedas, the Upanishad. So it will also facilitate and support further research to solve the contemporary societal issues like the psychological, the neuroscience, the nature, environment, sustainable development, as these are mentioned by the Mandavekar. So we can also incorporate the Indian knowledge system that we derive from the Vedic literature, the Vedas, the Upanishad, and all these will help us in our holistic health, in our psychological field, sustainable development, natural environment. Then research done by Sharma in the year 2003 highlighted 2023 highlights the importance of cultural connection in student development. When students see their own cultural knowledge reflected in the curriculum, it fosters a sense of pride and belongingness within the learning environment. So, if we incorporate the cultural aspects in our curriculum that is derived from the Indian knowledge system, then it also fosters a sense of pride. We can also develop our own feeling, that is the belongingness, that is the oneness within the learning environment, and we can also ignite the creative problem solving skills among the students. As Indian knowledge encompasses a wide range of ancient wisdom, traditional medicine, astrology, yoga, meditation, and more, introducing this Indian knowledge system, resource, and teaching learning may be useful to improve our affective domain. So we have three domain: cognitive domain, affective domain, psychomotor domain. So affective domain is greatly influenced, developed by the Indian knowledge system, where we can develop our feeling, our understanding. That is the affective, that is the realization of the self. And it also helps us to develop social emotional intelligence. So this social emotional intelligence is also very much needed at present time. So, according to Tapial, the study of Indian knowledge can enhance efficiency, effectiveness, quality, excellence in the education system. So, student can develop a rational conceptualization of Indian knowledge system, and they can apply it to their academic pursuit. And similarly, it also helps us in developing the innovative thinking, the problem solving skill, the deeper understanding of the study of the subject they study. So if we include different aspects from the Indian knowledge system in our different subjects like history, like political science, like education, or in many science subjects, we can also use different aspects from the Indian knowledge system, where student can realize the reality of their subjects, their own subjects. So importance of integration of Indian knowledge system in school education can be further established by the following reason. So we can develop a strong foundation by Indian knowledge system. So this system offers a different perspective on existing subjects like science and mathematics, as we are usually science and mathematics, these are the complex subjects. Most of the students they feel, and if we incorporate different aspects, different knowledge from the Ayurveda, the student can gain a more holistic understanding about the health. So we can cross pollination of ideas, and this cross pollination of ideas can make the learning more encouraging and more enriching. Then we have also cultural pride. As I have already mentioned, the cultural values can be promoted through the Indian knowledge system, because Indian knowledge system is a treasure trove of Indian rich heritage. And studying this system allows our students to connect their roots and appreciate the ingenuity of past generation. So we can also know our own roots, where we can study the different culture, different cultural values, different cultural activities, and learning about the traditional farming method. So our farming method is also depend on our culture, and this type of activity will help us to develop a sense of cultural pride. Then out of the box thinking. So Indian knowledge system provides a window into ancient solution for problems like water conservation or building techniques. And by studying these time-tested approaches, student can be inspired to think creatively and develop innovative solution to modern challenges. So we can develop our own critical thinking and our own problem solving from a unique perspective, because Indian knowledge system will help us so that we can also realize the reality of our own problem. Then environmental awareness, so traditional agriculture, indigenous weather forecasting, then many resource management, these are the valuable aspects of our day-to-day life, and we can also learn from our Indian knowledge system, because in our Indian knowledge system there was a provision for knowing the weather forecasting. Then we also know the different traditional cultural practices. Then how can we manage the different resources, and by practicing such kind of activities, then we can also develop environmental awareness. Then entrepreneurial skill. Indian knowledge system can be a source of inspiration for young entrepreneurs. So we have a traditional craft, we have a traditional medicine, then agricultural technique, and if we can develop, adapt these techniques in our different stages of education, and we can also develop a sustainable business. So the innovation and entrepreneurship cell of the government of India promoting student startups based on indigenous knowledge. Then improve decision making. So we can also improve our own decision making by developing critical thinking skill. So as Indian knowledge system incorporates a holistic approach to problem solving, so definitely we can also develop our own decision making. Then it has a local relevance. Indian knowledge system is often specific to a particular region or ecosystem, and integrating Indian knowledge system into curriculum can make learning more relevant to the student lives and experiences. Then intergenerational learning, bringing Indian knowledge system into school can bridge the gap between generation. So student can learn directly from the elders and knowledge keeper, fostering cultural transmission and respect for tradition. So we can also gather our knowledge from our elder ones, and we can also foster our own cultural transmission, and we can develop a respect for our own tradition. So Indian knowledge system attempts to bring together the country's ancient knowledge from long ago with its modern knowledge system. It also aims to support the field's multidisciplinary research prospect for academic and educational institutions. So these are the examples of integrating Indian knowledge system into education. So how can we integrate the Indian knowledge system in our education? So these are the some measures we can adopt. Regional languages and literature courses, universities, colleges, they can offer specialized courses that explore regional languages, literature, oral tradition, and we can also include classical texts, folk tales, and indigenous poetry. Secondly, we can also traditional medicine and wellness. We can incorporate uh, courses based on Ayurveda, then yoga, then naturopathy, and student can learn about holistic health practices, then herbal medicine and preventive wellness. Thirdly, we can also adopt the Vedic mathematics and geometry, introduce Vedic mathematics principles alongside conventional mathematics. So with the modern mathematics, we can also introduce the Vedic mathematics and geometry. Then environmental management through indigenous wisdom. We can also manage our environment by following the indigenous techniques, indigenous practices, and art and craft revival. We should always encourage our students to learn traditional art form such as Madhubani painting, Pasitra, and Wali art. These are the traditional art, and we can also incorporate this type of art in our education system. Then philosophy and ethics in modern context. We can also discuss so many philosophical texts from the Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, and we can also explore ethical dilemmas and critical thinking using ancient wisdom. Then we can also architectural heritage and urban planning. So study ancient Indian architecture, including temple design, stepwells, town planning, and apply these principles to contemporary urban planning. So when we make plan in our house, we can also use the different architectural heritage from our ancient Indian. Then indigenous music and dance. So Bharatnatyam, Kathaka, and there are also some classical musics, and we can also offer courses based on this indigenous music, indigenous dance. And because it has also cultural significance and artistic expression. And language technology and preservation. We can explore computational linguistic and language technology. And that is why we must focus on preserving endangered languages and script. So, a language technology help us to preserve our rare and valuable scripts and linguistics for the future generation. And lastly, historical and cultural context in science and technology. So we should teach our children uh, on science and technology with insight from Indian history, so that they can understand ancient metallurgy techniques and astronomy. So Indian knowledge system remains a testament to the country's intellectual heritage and its adaptability to modern challenges. So ancient and contemporary efforts together aim to keep this vibrant tradition alive in our society. So, as we know, Indian knowledge system is a rich source of diverse discipline, practices, principles, and it reflects our Indian cultural, spiritual, and intellectual legacy. And it has a broad spectrum of different subjects: philosophy, science, literature, arts, mathematics, and it is rooted in ancient scripts and tradition. So it has continues to influence our contemporary thought and innovation. And that is why we must incorporate so many valuable aspects from our Indian knowledge. And in our higher education curriculum, it is very essential and important step. So, so that we can use different valuable resource from our Indian knowledge system, and by doing so we can enhance students learning experiences, we can stimulate their cultural understanding, and we can also bridge a gap between the traditional wisdom and modern knowledge. And we can also cultivate a more holistic, more comprehensive, and diverse learning environment. And if we incorporate the Indian knowledge system in our higher education, it also helps us in providing a comprehensive, diverse, and inclusive learning environment. And this inclusive learning environment will help our students to face with the different challenges of the modern world with their own morality, wisdom, and profound understanding of the cultural heritage. Again, incorporating Indian knowledge system into the mainstream education system can have numerous benefits, fostering a better understanding of in rich cultural heritage, innovative solution to contemporary challenges. Then we can also preserve our ancient traditional um, traditional knowledge, scripts from the Ayurveda, yoga, traditional art for our future generation, and we can also develop a deeper appreciation for the nation's unique history and cultural identity. So Indian knowledge system not only serve as a means of cultural preservation, but also hold the potential to redefine the learning paradigm in education. So we can also improve, we can also develop our learning environment by following the traditional Indian knowledge system. And this knowledge system not only instill academic knowledge, but also we can develop our cultural pride, cultural identity, fostering a generation that is deeply connected to its root. Furthermore, the infusion of Indian knowledge system into the education system promotes a holistic approach. Already I have mentioned, and we should also have a disciplinary integration through the Indian knowledge system. And this disciplinary integration allows our student to explore intersection between traditional knowledge and contemporary knowledge. And we can also equip our student with a well-rounded perspective, and these are very essential for addressing the complex challenges of today's life. And in the knowledge system represented integrated epistemological framework, and these are conveyed through indigenous pedagogies, and these indigenous pedagogies tailored to support a nuanced understanding of diverse discipline contribute to the tapestry of traditional knowledge. And by acknowledging and preserving these india's system, there is an opportunity to infuse contemporary education with the depth and breadth of insight that have endured through generation. And integration of Indian knowledge system also help us so that we can know the different values, different identity for the younger generation. And education is only the instrument through which we can also make a connection between the reality and between the theoretical aspects of our life. And it is education through which we can also develop a sense of pride and a connection to cultural roots. We can also laying the groundwork for our holistic development. And we can also take the advantage from the Indian knowledge system in our secondary curriculum. And in our secondary education system, as all of you know, that one of the most significant stages of our life, and in Indian knowledge system, if we incorporate there this aspect in our secondary system also, it help us in revitalizing of our education system. That means there is a meaningful connection we can develop between the student and the ancient root and cultural heritage. And the primary objective of our secondary education is to development of the student personality and help them to develop their own culture so that they can preserve it, they can transmit it from their own generation to next generation. And by incorporating this traditional system into curriculum, student can stand to gain a more comprehensive understanding of their history, culture, and profound wisdom of their ancestor. Moreover, this integration is expected to cultivate skill and insight that can contribute to addressing contemporary societal challenges. So the integration of Indian knowledge system into the educational landscape not only serve as a means of cultural preservation but holds the potential to redefine the learning paradigm in education. So education system, the traditional Indian knowledge system or Indian knowledge system. So both are closely related from the Vedas, from the Upanishad, from the Bhagavad Gita, and even from the different philosophical evidence that exist in our Indian time, from the Vedic period, from the Buddhist period, from the Jain philosophy. We can adopt so many resources in our curriculum system, and this infusion of Indian knowledge system into the education system promotes a holistic approach to learning, and we can also transcending the conventional boundaries of academic discipline. So that is why we must incorporate this Indian knowledge system in our curriculum from primary primary to higher stages of our education system. The synthesis of diverse knowledge field not only enriches the learning experiences but also equips students with a well-rounded perspective, and that is very essential in our uh, complex challenges in today's world. So, as digitization and interdisciplinary research gain momentum, the Indian knowledge system poised to offer solution to contemporary global challenges, which preserving the essence of Indian heritage. Today, we have so many global challenges that we face in our day-to-day life, and it is only the Indian knowledge system which provide us insight into the human behavior, leadership, decision making, and its organizational dynamics. And this wisdom has been hidden in the ancient Indian texts, and it is only with the principles, with the objectives of NEP 2020, we can explore these hidden sources of our Indian knowledge system, and we must incorporate in our curriculum so that we can preserve our own cultural heritage, our own knowledge system, and our different traditional practices. The need of the hour is therefore to unlock this treasure from the ancient texts and make it available to all students and professionals, equipping them with the knowledge and skills necessary to navigate the complexities of the global world, marked by technological advancement and ethical dilemmas. So we should also go with the technological advancement. We should also follow the technological knowledge, but we should also know our own tradition. We should also know our own heritage. That is the background of the humanity, and it is the Indian knowledge system through which we can also know our identify. We can also develop our own potentiality by studying the different Indian knowledge system. Thank you. Dr. Meenakshi, are you here?
Actually, I'm here, ma'am. I'm
Yes,
Sadhguru.
sir. So I have
Ahmed.
completed.
Okay. Okay. A very special word of thanks to our esteemed resource person for the instruction. Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. So very thank you, ma'am, for your enlightening session in integration of IKS in the context of NEP 2020. Your expertise and perspectives have greatly enriched our understanding of this important topic. Now, to the participant, if you have any queries or would like to share your thought, uh, please feel free to ask now, or you can post your queries in the chat box. If any queries from participant, please feel free to ask. Ma'am, I think you have explained everything in a very well manner so that no queries from the participants. Uh,
Okay.
Chat box
Thank
with
you.
us, no?
Thank you so much for inviting and giving me the opportunity to
Yes,
take
ma'am.
a very nice program conducted
Yes,
by
ma'am.
your institution.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. So if there is no queries from the participant, we'd like to winding up the session here. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you.
The attendance link will be shared in the chat box. Please fill up the attendance come feedback forms for today's session. I am sharing it in the chat box. So dear participants, the attendance link has been posted in the chat box.